Hi guys, it's Rachel. In my previous video, I talked about my journey to PR. I also mentioned that taking a one-year program was not my best move. As promised, I will elaborate on the reasons on how taking a one-year program almost compromised my chances of obtaining permanent residency in Canada.
What?
This video may also answer the question that you may have, which is 1 year studies enough for PR? As always, I'll give a balanced view of this topic. That way you can weigh out if this pathway is for you or not. So let's jump right into it. So, story time. Just to reiterate, I started my journey to Canada as a student in September 2017. I studied a one-year certificate program and took up Communication Design Essentials at BCIT. Outside of school, I worked part-time as a sales associate in retail stores and made sure I only worked 20 hours per week as a full-time student. And the reason for that is to respect the conditions stated on my study permit. I completed my program in 2018 and afterwards applied for a postgraduate work permit. While waiting for a PGWP, I was fortunate enough to land a job and work immediately after studies. For those that don't know, IRCC states that you can work full-time while waiting for a decision on your PGWP. However, there are conditions you must meet before you are able to do this. You can work full-time while waiting for a decision on your postgrad work permit application if at the time you submitted your application you 1. Had a valid study permit, 2. Had completed your program of study, 3. Were eligible to work off-campus without a permit, and lastly, did not work off-campus for more than 20 hours a week during academic sessions. I met all of these conditions and hence was permitted to work full-time while waiting. I worked a full-time position as a program assistant at a non-profit organization. I was very fortunate that the first job that I landed right after graduation also happened to be a skilled job. It was a NOC level B or a technical skilled job. Working a skilled job is very important as this is one of the requirements that you need to qualify for the Express Entry program. Eventually, my postgrad work permit was approved on January 2019. Guys, I submitted my PGWP application on October 2018. That means I had 3 months additional to work a skilled job here in Canada. Those 3 months were valuable time for me to be included in more Express Entry draws while here in Canada. I met the minimum requirements for Express Entry on October 2019. At this point, I had a valid IELTS exam and 1 year skilled work experience in Canada. For those wondering, this was my IELTS score when I submitted my Express Entry profile. Upon submission, my profile was updated on the same day, and I found out that my CRS score was 450 points. I qualified under the Canadian Experience class and Federal Skilled Workers program when I submitted my Express Entry profile. This was great news since the more programs you qualify for under Express Entry, the more chances of being selected for PR. Timing-wise, however, I was feeling the pressure, and here's why. Since I only studied a 1 year program, I was also only issued a 1 year PGWP. Take note, applicants can only receive 1 postgraduate work permit in their lifetime. PGWP is only offered or issued once in your life, so once you get it, that's it. You cannot reapply for a PGWP after being issued one. That's why most people do 2-year programs or like 1+1 programs. That way they can maximize the length of their PGWP. But anyway, moving on, when I met the requirements for Express Entry in October 2019, I had a postgrad work permit that was about to expire in 3 months on January 2020. That means I only had 3 months left to be invited to apply for PR before my status expires. The first Express Entry that I was part of happened on October 30th, 2019, and the CRS cutoff score at that time was 475 points. My score was 450 points, which is definitely far from getting an ITA. With 3 months left of having a valid status here in Canada, I was getting pretty scared and nervous. It's too little time for me to take up French as a second language. I retook my IELTS exam, but unfortunately my CRS score did not change. I went to my employer for PNP or an LMIA, but both were shut down due to organizational challenges, which I understood. I even applied to other jobs, but my status was always a point of concern at every interview. Basically, I was stuck and I had nowhere else to go. Some of you were even asking me why I applied to stay in Canada on a visitor record. And well, this answers your question. I tried, but my efforts were not enough in the given time I had left. So sadly, I had to stay in Canada on a visitor record and hopefully wait for an ITA to come my way. During these times, I was completely lost and directionless in life. I was buying time to stay in Canada, but I had no clue where it would lead to. Take note, as a visitor, you're not allowed to study nor work while in Canada. I was basically a vegetable, which is why I had to set a deadline for myself. If nothing happens during my stay in Canada as a visitor, I am boarding that plane to go back home. I accepted my fate with grace because I do understand that immigration is not a right, it's a privilege. But fortunately, and thanks again, Lord, I got an ITA, or I received my invitation to apply for PR on May 14, 2020, just a month before my flight back to Manila. It was a straight super clutch performance and saved by the bell type of feeling. It was as if I was given another shot at life. I submitted my PR application right away as soon as I had everything complete and ready. I waited 8 months for a decision while on a visitor record, suffered a little bit mentally and financially, but fast forward to Feb 2021, I got my PR approved. Woohoo! It still feels unreal and I'm actually still in disbelief, but I'm so grateful that I can officially call myself a permanent resident of Canada. Now, to answer your question, is 1 year of studies enough for PR? The short answer is, it's risky, but possible. My life story is one example of how risky it can be. Timing and luck were a huge factor to my PR success. If I had not studied and graduated a particular month and year, if I had not worked a skilled job right away after graduation, if I had not submitted my express entry profile right away and qualified under CEC, and moreover, if COVID had not happened, I would not be where I am today. There are just too many what ifs in my scenario, and they had to align perfectly for me to get my PR. So yeah, I consider my situation to be an exceptional example. Should you bank on chance when making a major life decision? No. That is why most people, including myself, advocate for studying a program of at least 2 years in Canada. That way you may be eligible for a 3-year postgrad work permit. With this, you have more time to study and gain skilled work experience in Canada, which in effect increases your score for express entry and also increases your chances for getting an ITA. Now, I understand that finances may be an issue when pursuing a longer program. After all, international students pay a hefty price for education here in Canada, approximately 15,000 to 30,000 Canadian dollars per year. Which is why I understand why some of you are thinking of taking a 1-year program. However, if finances were a huge problem to you at the start, it will also be a problem to you later on. So it's best to save enough funds before embarking on this adventure. By taking a 1-year program, you think you are saving money, but in reality, it may cost you more in the long run. Take myself as an example. Finances didn't go away when I took up a 1-year program in Canada. It was just allocated elsewhere. I was waiting in Canada on a visitor status for over a year. The expenses racked up real quick, and I don't want you guys to go through what I went through, which is why I'm sharing the story with you all. So maybe your next question is, how will I know if taking a one-year program is for me or not? Well, in order to answer this question, we have to work backwards. Okay, so before you begin your journey, you should calculate your future CRS score to give you an idea on where you stand and how close you are to an ITA after 1 year of studies and hopefully after 1 year of skilled work experience here in Canada. IRCC has a CRS calculator tool. This tool will ask you a series of questions, and at the end, you will find out your CRS score. I will link this tool in the description box below for your reference. Now, use this tool to compute your future CRS score. And before we are able to do that, we have to make a couple assumptions. Number 1, estimate your English test scores and keep it realistic. 2, assume that you already have the bare minimum of 1 year study experience in Canada and hopefully also 1 year of skilled work experience here in Canada. Third, you also have to factor in age because by the time that you qualify for Express Entry, you're already older by at least 1 year if you're aiming to qualify for FSW only and you basically took that 1 year program to bump up your score by a bit. Or you're older by at least 2 years if you're aiming for CEC, and that means you have 1 year studies and 1 year skilled work experience here in Canada. For the other questions found in this tool, just answer them as you would, and when you reach the end, click calculate your score to see your results, or rather, future results. The next step is very important, so please pay attention. Once you get your future CRS score, you should compare it with the last pre-COVID Express Entry draw. The reason for that is because IRCC selected mostly CEC and PNP applicants during COVID, which greatly impacted the scores to the benefit of this small group. I don't think that IRCC will make the same selection, and this will impact the CRS score when COVID is under control. I also want you to compare it with the pre-COVID Express Entry draw because mainly when you qualify for Express Entry, it's likely that COVID will have a lesser influence to the selection and in effect the CRS cutoff scores. Now, for instructional purposes, I'll be referring to my screen over here, and we can take my future hypothetical CRS score of 465. This is the answer I got from answering the tool, and we will compare this to the pre-COVID CRS cutoff score. Okay, let's take March 4th as the most recent pre-COVID Express Entry draw. It was an all-program draw with a cutoff score of 471 points. Based on that, my score is lower by 6 points, which means I will not get an ITA. Assuming I only had 3 months left to stay in Canada, I would be scrambling to improve my score and can only hope that the scores go down in the near future. For a better picture, we can even take a look further back from October 30th, 2019 to March 4th, 2020. This period has the most realistic CRS cutoff scores prior to COVID. During this period, it was mostly an all-program draw occurring, meaning CEC and FSW were also part of these draws. And as you can see, the lowest CRS cutoff score during that time was 469, and the highest was 475. Now, comparing that to my score of 465, I would still not get an ITA. I don't think that you want to be in this position with time running out. So yeah guys, for those with lower scores, it's riskier for you guys to take up a 1 year program. Now, what is considered an acceptable range? If your future score is lower by 5 points or less from the pre-COVID trend, I'd say you're somewhat in a decent position. But if your score is lower by 6 to 10 points, you are in a risky position because it's usually hard to gain this much points in a short period of time. And If your score is lower by more than 10 points, sorry to say this, but you are in the danger zone. I don't mean to sound pessimist. I'm more realist if anything, because I've observed the 3 previous years for the CRS cutoff score, and it's actually here, and the trend has been increasing. You can check it out and see for yourself. I am also factoring in risk because this is a one-shot deal. Obviously, it's difficult to make an accurate prediction. I'm not a fortune teller, and secondly, everyone has a unique CRS score based on your background. Moreover, there are other factors that can affect your chances of getting PR and even other PR programs that you may qualify for. So yeah, please take my analysis with a grain of salt. Anyway, just play with the CRS tool and see which areas you can improve on. Always keep up to date with the latest draw, as this may help you understand the immigration trend, and this can also give you an idea on how to strategize and also increase your chances for PR. Let's now move on to the takeaways. Number 1, when it comes to immigration, like everything else in life, there are risks. One form is taking the study to PR pathway. Again, studying a 1-year program is risky. However, risk can be minimized by computing your score before coming to Canada and comparing it to the most realistic express entry draw or trend. If you have a high enough score, then you are in a good position to take this route. But if your score is low or not enough, then consider applying to a minimum 2-year program in Canada. That way you may be eligible for a 3-year postgrad work permit. This should buy you more time to increase your score for the express entry and increase your chances of getting an ITA. Or consider becoming eligible for other PR programs aside from express entry in order to maximize your chances of obtaining PR. Number 2, with immigration, finances are unavoidable. You either pay up front or you pay in the long run. But if you position yourself in a spot where finances are manageable before beginning your journey, then this at least makes the rest of your journey in Canada comfortable and less stressful. Third and lastly, luck can be on your side. Whether it's with COVID's help that got you an ITA, or getting a support from your employer through PNP or an LMIA, or qualifying for various other programs that eventually lead you to PR, luck can be a deciding factor to get you there. But please understand that luck is not the be-all and end-all solution for immigration. At the end of the day, immigration should be based on merit and hard work. So there you have it, folks. I hope this video was able to shed light in helping you decide if this pathway is for you or not. And if you find it helpful or useful, I would really appreciate it if you could please comment down below or subscribe to my channel. Thank you once again for your time. Be safe and be kind. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.